Hello and welcome back to the Berean workshop. So one day as I was getting ready to pull out of my driveway, running some errands, I noticed the postman had arrived and he got out of his car and he held some brown and white envelopes in his hands. And as he walked past me to get to my front door, I stopped him and I said, "Excuse me, if you have any bills in that bunch, can you not deliver them?" He stopped for a moment and he had this puzzled look on his face. And then he chuckled a little bit to himself because he realized that I was only joking. But the truth of the matter was that half of me was serious. I secretly wished that it was possible for him not to deliver those bills, because at this period, I remember it very clearly, it was quite difficult financially for me. My business was extremely slow, but the bills were coming in fast. I couldn't keep up with it. And I felt really anxious. It felt like I was walking in the valley of the shadow of death, financially speaking, that is. My personal economy seemed really, really dark. The road looked dark, it felt cold, it was lonely, and I think worst of all, I felt a little bit helpless. But what kept me grounded were the words from Psalm 23. In Psalm 23, David talked about how the Lord is his shepherd and how he shall never lack anything. But verse 4 of Psalm 23 was particularly significant. It says, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." As the postman approached, I felt a twinge of anxiety, but I tried to lighten the mood with a joke. And as I drove off, all I could do was meditate on verse 4. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. For me, that valley of shadow of death was my financial or personal economy. For some people, it could be relationship issues. Others still, it could be health issues. Or it could be finding purpose and finding meaning in one aspect of life or another. And it could feel like the valley of shadow of death. But when we listen and pay attention to what the psalmist wrote, I'll repeat it, verse 4. Even though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, whatever the valley of shadow of death represents, the psalmist encourages us that we should fear no evil, we should fear no dread, we should fear no calamity, we shouldn't fear setbacks. This is a call for courage. Courage in the midst of financial turmoil, courage in the midst of relationship challenges, courage in the midst of health issues and health scares, courage as we try to figure out the new season that we may find ourselves in, or in any area of life. How can we be certain though? Because how do we know that our Creator is with us? How do we know that His rod and His staff will comfort us? Well, there are a couple of conditions, right? A couple of conditions. Now, the first thing is this: we must continue to walk, never stop. Remember, it says, even though I walk through the valley of shadow of death. So we must continue to walk. Don't stop. So that's the first condition. The second condition, we must make sure that God is leading the way. Remember how the way the Psalm 23 starts? It says, the Lord is my shepherd. So the shepherd always takes the lead. And in case you're asking, how do I follow his lead? How do I hear his voice? How do I know I can follow him successfully? Well, it's simple. Jesus offers us the way. Just ask him. Ask him into your heart. Believe with all of your heart that you've received. Pray the prayer out loudly. Then calmly say, even when I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. It's a walk of faith. Remember, faith is the evidence or the substance, I beg your pardon, of things hoped for. Just take a deep breath. You hope that you can hear from him and that he can lead. Just trust him. Meditate on the promises of God. God has made his promises and his promises never return to him void. Keep going. I did. I continued to walk. I continued to chip away at that business that I mentioned earlier on. It is still quite rocky, but I'm grateful to God because he opened a door that I did not expect. But I kept walking and he led me. He gave me a new strategy as I continued to walk and trust him even during the difficult times. The strategy turned out to be a winning strategy because I acted upon it as well. And in addition to all that goodness, I can say that I received his comfort. I saw his mighty hands guiding me through the very rough time. Never forget, listener, when fear comes, let us counter it with courage. And let us meditate on God's promises and not on our situation. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.